Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Small Business with me, Kevin Dan Dino. And today I am joined by John from Iron Horse Home Inspection. Sir, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing pretty good. Doing well. How about yourself?
Cannot complain. Great weather in Colorado, and for being winter, feels a whole lot more like spring.
Yeah, I appreciate it a lot more than what we had a couple of weeks ago.
I figure someone in your business would very much appreciate that versus freezing temperatures.
Yeah, I must say though that I don't mind attics this time of year, right?
Oh, for sure.
So, but
Well, hey man, thank you for joining me, and it's gonna be a great conversation, kind of just hearing about your business and everything. So let's just dive into it. Tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of how, or just the background of Iron Horse Home Inspection.
all right. Depends if you want the long story or the short story.
Whichever.
This is a second career for me, and I've been doing it for about, let's see, it's going on 9 years now. And without getting into what I did before, I wanted to get into something that actually helped people.
Yeah.
And I'm enough of a nerd to be interested to know how everything works. And some of my past experience in my prior career was with building products, Johns Manville insulation, quickset locks, roofing materials. That was also Johns Manville when they still did it. And then spent a lot of time around custom builders. And from that is how I kind of got into the home inspection business.
Gotcha.
Having started another business, I knew it would take me about 3 years to get kind of rolling, right? To get some momentum going. So
Right.
I kind of wore two hats for a while. And then as far as the naming's hard as a small business. You look out there, not even as a small business, it's just hard.
Yeah.
Because you want to stand out from the crowd if you can, but it always feels like all of the easy names that you get to, right, are already out there.
Yep.
So I decided just to go off of kind of family history. My great grandfather was an inspector and actually a mechanic on the boilers for the Denver Rio Grande Railroad. Hence,
Oh, wow.
Iron Horse, right? So Iron Horse Home Inspection. So for me personally, it was a nod to that history and to that part of my family.
Sure.
And then if you do your work well and you build good relationships, about any name will work.
Right. That's
So,
true. Yeah.
right?
Eventually it sticks, right?
Yeah. Well, and I do get, where did Iron Horse come from?
Right.
So
It's a good conversation starter. Yeah.
yeah, it's an intro.
Right.
So that's kind of it in a nutshell. As I said, I've been doing it about 9 years. Really enjoy it.
So, you're talking about, you started another business before and you kind of knew what, how long you would take to kind of get that traction like you were talking about. What kind of made you finally pull that trigger, and say, that's it, it's time for me to actually start down this venture? And, maybe why home inspection versus maybe other kind of types of home work that people need throughout the year?
Yeah. That's a good question because it's really kind of multifaceted in the sense of what goes through one's mind when it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Right.
Yep.
I was gonna not necessarily bring it up, but it's nothing to be ashamed of anything. But I was an art director in advertising, and so it feels very different from what I'm doing now. And that was part of the point, right? The other point was to get out from behind the desk, right? And for me, it was wanting to, as I said, help people. And what is it that I knew? What is it that I know that I'm interested in that I would enjoy that could do that?
Right.
At my age, I'm not going to be an EMT or a paramedic, right?
Sure.
And also it was just really having an innate curiosity. And when I started taking the classes, you might be familiar within the real estate industry. There was, I don't know if they're still around or not. There was a college, if you will, called Kaplan,
Okay.
and Kaplan had a home inspector course, and so I rode the design still while I was doing that. What made it very easy for me, though, and it's hard if you are in an office environment to make that change, but I had already left the agency world in 2007. Right,
Okay.
I hung a shingle on my own in the design art direction world, and used my relationships that I had built up there to parlay into my own client base.
Right.
But again, that took me about 3 years, right?
Sure.
That was actually the bigger jump.
Okay.
That was the bigger, scarier jump, where getting into home inspections was a bit easier. The only hard part for me was managing that calendar, and then within a year and a half, it was about 2 years in when I really made the jump over to full-time home inspecting, and had frankly and honestly enough experience to do a good job, and to build up a client base of people who refer me that trusted my work.
Right.
So it takes a while.
For
But
sure.
I tell young entrepreneurs or people, I had a client yesterday. They were they're trainers, and I asked her, are you going to be a PT someday? She goes, well, I don't know. And I said, well, how long have you been doing the personal training? And she said about just over a year. And I said, give it 2 more.
Right.
You just keep rowing, keep at it, have some tenacity, and keep your focus on that, and don't let the negative. God, is this going to work? Am I going to make it? Is that it? Yes, it's going to be hard, right?
Sure.
But if you keep at it, the success and the work will come, right? So I don't know if that's a truism across all markets, but for me personally, and from what I had read, 3 years is that kind of over the initial hump.
Sure.
Right. And then and we can get into, I don't know what other questions you might have asked.
I'll go for it. Yeah.
In today's world, that's part of the reason I got out of advertising and marketing. It's completely changed of how and what works. And I didn't want to deal with it anymore. But it did put me in a very interesting position as a small business owner. How do I get my name out? How do I become part of that consideration arc? Right. And it is building, for me, it was building a website. Fortunately, I had experience in my past life, so it helped me to know that what user experience is, and what, how do people navigate. I knew all of that stuff that I think some people, if you're a small business owner and you're new to it, that can be a hard area to navigate. But my little hint on that is just keep it as simple as possible at first.
Sure.
But I think you do need to have a place to when you say your name or you get your word out, people want to go do the research there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm looking at your website, and it is simple, but it is very informative at the same time. Like I could go here and it looks professional. There's not a lot of bells and whistles that are distracting someone. It's very well laid out in terms of here's who we are, here's what we provide, pricing, all this stuff, a section for agents, and that's a very good, just bullet point right there, is being able to get something together and not being overwhelmed by the idea. And you look at some of these websites from some of these bigger companies or something, and there's just a ton of information. It's just, there's just so many things to go through. And, it's like, man, how am I going to get my stuff to look like that? And it's like, you don't need to, you just need to say, here's who I am, here's my brand, and here's what I provide. But it provides a sense of, provides that sense of relief almost to somebody looking you up and going, okay, like this seems like somebody who's, straightforward, who I can talk to, work with, and knows that me as the consumer, I need to be able to find this information quickly and easily. Right. And so there you go.
And then, so that was that, right? The website. And then one of the hardest parts to do, but you have to do it, is to ask for those reviews on Google.
Yeah.
Right. And so now that's automated for me. Right.
Okay.
It's automated within the software that I use for the inspection world, that when the inspection is completed, they get a thank you email, and then 6 days later, it's do you have any questions, and would you mind giving me a review on Google, and give them a link.
Right.
Most people, if you don't do that, you won't get them.
No,
right?
Yeah.
You have to ask for it. You have to. And but I try not to be a pest about it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I send the one email, and that's it. And if I get 1 out of 5, which is probably about what it is, that will write the review, maybe a little bit less than that. But again, that goes back to a person's decision process. We go to people's websites to find out who and what they are. Then we end up at Google, right, to find out, or vice versa, to find out what is their reputation.
Sure.
And the biggest thing that you can do when you start getting those reviews is respond to each and every one of them. Right?
Yep.
Go in and say thank you, and it was a pleasure. Make sure you do that.
Great.
One is for the business side of it, that those kind of reviews work better when people can see what kind of response, and people read that stuff. The other thing, for me personally, though, is by doing that, it makes me thankful for what I have. Right?
Yeah.
There's people out there that have trusted me with a very big decision, and it's rewarding to get those, but I have to also keep humble and remember that that's something to be thankful for.
Exactly.
Because the world throws us through loops, right?
Right.
COVID wasn't a very fun time to be a home inspector during that April that nothing was happening.
Exactly.
Right? And that happens to all business owners, right? That hit a lot of people.
Yeah.
So,
well, the good thing about those Google reviews is they pay off. They continue to pay off over time.
Absolutely.
It's not something that, okay, you got it, and people only care about it when it's the top one there. I mean, that goes into when people see how many 5-star, 4-star reviews you have. That adds up. People go through those and look at seeing what people are actually saying. And it could be tough for some people to say, look, I'm a new business. I don't know if I really am comfortable asking for people to do those kinds of things. But I like the idea of spending, having the time difference between when the work is completed and the report's completed, to following up with them, making sure, one, do you have any questions? Is there anything else I can do for you? And then 2, if you could spend a little bit of time doing this. I mean, by that point, there's been enough time where they've really been able to digest that. Wow, that was, a really good job. I got all this information I needed. There was nothing that came back from the report that, oh, this guy missed that or that, or whatever the case is, and this is someone that I want to help out the way they helped me. So, it's one of those things that if you're not comfortable as a business owner doing that, you might want to really think about, is there a way I can do this in a way, like you said, that it's not pestering them to do it, but just being thankful for the people that are going through and spending that extra time to help you
Yeah.
out back.
Well, for instance, I mean, we all have that trepidation, right? So I'm not gonna. I felt really uncomfortable asking for it in person, right? That's just not me. So
Right.
I'd let an email a week after kind of do it. Right?
Exactly.
Because it seems kind of icky if you ask for it right away.
Cool, my job's done. Can you it's part of my payment fee, like you paid me and now also go do this for me, it's like,
exactly.
Yeah, it can come across not the way you want it to.
And the other thing about the reviews, though, really, you were right. Those help in the long run. They're sticky. They're a long time. But I have what that helps to do. Yes, it does help make a sale for you in a way. But that's not what does it. Most of the time is going to be, well, look, home inspections are like buying snow tires. No one wants to spend money on them, right? You kind of have to do it, right? From consideration through the arc all the way through of the sales cycle, it's very short, and it's for something that people really don't want to do, right? They don't want to have to do that. So if those good reviews, and this is what I've heard, and this is just more anecdotal of how it works for me, is that at least it makes them comfortable enough, confident enough to give me a call.
Right.
And then that is where I think my strength comes in with making that sale, if you will, which is being open to those calls, answering all their questions, and kind of go above and beyond. And when they text or call back and say, well, we've decided to go with someone else, all I say is, hey, thanks for the heads up. And I hope that everything goes smoothly and you have a great, a great process in buying a home, and congratulations.
Right.
Because
you never know if they need one down the line or they tell somebody else about you. You just don't know.
You don't. And they have their decision-making process is they own that. They know it. I don't know what they're going through and what pressures and what made them feel more comfortable with someone else, but I can't worry about that. Right.
Exactly.
So just take the high road and say, all right. And we all get, depending on what business you're in. I mean, I know, but for those of us in the service industry, you're going to get the looky-loos and the price shoppers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
As much as you, as hard as it is, stick with the price that is fair for you, the fee that you have for whatever you do, whether it's a mechanic. And again, I'm talking about the service industry. Price yourself that you can make a living at. Don't chase the bottom, because it's really hard to crawl back up.
For sure.
Right?
Yep.
So, and that, again, that's an uncomfortable when you're new at it.
Yeah.
But when you've been at it, for almost 10 years, those types who are just shopping for the lowest. And I don't give in, and I just say, well, then good luck with what you can find out there.
Right. It's being true to yourself, being true to your brand, and just being confident. And I think for a small business owner that's just starting out, there might be some of that hesitation, or maybe some of that self-doubt of, is what I'm providing really worth this much? So I think, and maybe this question you could answer, if somebody were to ask you, like, why do you charge what you charge? Like, what sets you apart from other home inspection businesses? What kind of information would you provide them? And to have that answer alone is really good to have.
That's a good question. In that, if you've never had a home inspection before, you're not really going to know what to expect and what information should be available and what they look at and all of that stuff. I kind of equate it to people who and I'm not going to dig on other inspectors per se, but just
sure.
in businesses that say, "Oh, we do the best." We I'm just trying to think of how to couch this. That they offer this, 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 and this, and this, and this, and you can do this. A lot of those things are those restaurants that say, you know, we have fresh salads. Well, I hope they're fresh.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, that's kind of a cost of entry, right?
Right.
So, at least, sorry, for me personally, I think I set myself out apart from a lot of other inspectors, mainly, and this is more important with first-time home buyers, is I'm an odd inspector that I don't mind if they follow me along.
Okay.
That makes for a longer day. Okay.
Sure.
And if you're not careful, it can distract you from what you need to focus on.
Yeah.
But I've developed a methodology, excuse me, of for working with those kind of clients.
Right.
Because I feel that my job is to be a resource and a wealth of knowledge for them at that time.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just my report. It's not, it's to answer their questions at the time as it comes to them.
Yeah.
And to try to give them the best information that I can. Right.
Sure.
And then I always end every inspection letting them know that they can always call me, even if it's a year from now.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
I will go out. I had a client a year later said, I have a roof leak. And when you're first getting into inspections, those are the ones that get your heart rate up. You're, what did I miss?
Right. Exactly.
When you've been after it for a while. And it's like, well, I can come over and let's do a thermal camera and let's do a moisture meter and see if we can trace where that's coming from. Sure. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but we might be able to see that the stain here is actually not that bathroom. It's that bathroom over there because we can trace the water and all that. And I'll go out there and I don't have to write a report or anything. I just do it with them. We kind of get a feel for what's going on and a direction for them to go in. And then they go, so what do we owe you? Nothing.
Right.
Well, what do you mean? I got to charge you? Just pass my name on, right?
Right. Exactly.
I told you I'm here for a resource. Just pass my name on and friends and family and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And that goes back to, it's not that I'm super altruistic, all right? But I do just want to help folks.
Right.
Right? I just want to do good. So you can't do that for everything, but I don't spend a whole lot of money on advertising. So that's my advertising money, right?
Right.
Right. Figure out what that kind of balance is, because I myself don't do Google ads. Some businesses that's going to work really well.
Right.
But I can't compete with the 800-pound gorilla out there like Axiom or Pillar to Post. All right. They're always going to have more marketing funds than I do. Sure. So I'm not going to go to that battle on that field with them.
Right.
I'm not going to spend the money on that because I can't outspend them. So it's the more the word of mouth that I focus on. And that goes back to just providing the service that we all wish we could get everywhere that we aren't finding. Exactly. How can I go above and beyond? Right. That's a very long-winded answer to what I don't know what is asked.
No, just kind of, what sets you apart. And I think those are some really big, highlighted areas that, again, for any other business owner out there that's maybe not finding a lot of success when it comes to Google ads, or maybe somebody who's new looking at, holy crap, Google ads is actually really expensive. If I want it to work the way I want it to, what else can I do to maybe save myself some money, but get that same type of advertisement, and to be honest, if I'm looking somebody up online, I'm not going to go tell my buddy about it because of what I saw online. I'm going to tell my buddy about it because of the interaction with somebody from the company or the owner that made me feel comfortable enough and confident enough in their work that then led me to say, hey, this is somebody you should check out. So, if I'm finding something for myself, ads on Google can help, but I'm not going to turn around and say to my buddy, hey, go look at this ad on Google.
Right.
I'm saying, hey, I talked to John at Iron Horse Home Inspection, and he did all this great work for me. He was very knowledgeable. He went out of his way to help me. He let me follow him around the house. He didn't complain once about it. Like those are the things that people go, oh, that's a really, interesting business that I want to go then check out myself.
Yeah.
So and maybe not as instantaneous as Google Ads, but I think it works even better over the long run.
It does. This conversation and what you brought up, you can't compete dollar-wise with a lot of the bigger companies that you might be up against with the Google Ads, but even if your website is simple, do find out, and it's hard. I've had some problems finding people that trust and do good work about SEO and search engine optimization.
Sure.
All right, because people are going to start there in their consideration process.
Right.
For me, it's home inspectors in Centennial, or home inspectors near me, or home inspectors in Denver. And it takes time. I've got to improve mine, by the way. I've got to get back to that. But we want your website to start popping up, right?
Yeah.
And get up there. So along with those 5-star reviews, now we've got we've got some information that gives them a positive feeling about your business. But don't fall for all the companies that say, oh, we can put you on the front page.
Sure.
Depending on what you're in, right?
Right.
Business. And if there's, I don't know, if you're in a business that's creating birthday cakes for dogs,
right,
then you have a very high probability of being on the first page of a Google search.
Sure. You're very unique. Yeah.
If you're a mechanic, for let's just say Japanese, the Honda, Toyota, now that's a different deal, right? Because you're competing against all the dealerships. You're competing then everyone else who's right. So it's a bit, don't fall for I get emails all the time. They're going to promise that I'm going to get on the front page.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like that.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that way.
Right.
Because I'll tell you'd be surprised. There's a lot of home inspectors out there.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
I can believe it. Well, there's a lot of homes out there, and
yeah,
I'd imagine there's a big need for it at the same time. So
yeah, that's a whole other. You should have a real estate agent on.
Oh, we will eventually.
Okay. Yeah.
So, well, hey, one of the last things I kind of wanted to bring up here was in the realm of insurance. I think insurance is one of those things that is scary to a lot of business owners, and somebody who's not versed in it. So kind of, what is your experience with the importance of insurance for your business? What are some of your concerns when it comes to being a business owner and, making sure that you have the right type of insurance you need? Like, what are some of the things that, you really had to maybe think about or kind of delve into when you first opened your business there?
Yeah. Insurance, it's right up there with home inspections on what people want to spend money on.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, true.
I'd rather get the latest and greatest drone than have to spend money on insurance. But unfortunately, it's the world that we live in. And depending on your business, you have to find the people that know know your industry and what you do and what coverages that you need.
Sure.
I have a great amount of trust in my personal agent, right?
Hmm.
I need for me and my business, since my home is my office, I really don't have any insurance needs for brick and mortar kind of
Right.
stuff, right?
Right.
Mine's all liability. And
Hmm.
then specifically, at least for this is probably the same as it is probably for real estate agents or other folks who disseminate information, which is errors and omissions.
Right.
And errors and omissions is, I sleep better at night knowing I have that insurance basically as my safety net.
Sure.
Because as much as I want to be the perfect home inspector, we're all human. And if I ever miss something, or it can be said that I missed something, or I did something, it's key to have that protection, right?
Yeah.
So I can't speak to other businesses, and because I don't have the knowledge of that.
Right.
But I think as a small business owner, let me put it this way: I didn't hang out an inspection shingle without it.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And so for me, that's commercial general liability and errors and omissions.
Well, you mentioned it earlier, being able to sleep better at night, and you also couple that with the idea of having a good relationship with your insurance agent. There's a lot of places out there that you see commercials, hey, if you're starting a business, go to this website and we'll get you a quote in 7 minutes. They don't know you. They're not trying to figure out what is driving you, what is, who are you behind the business? Let's create that relationship where you can trust them, right? So, you could go to one of those places, get the cheapest insurance possible, and then, okay, you're covered technically, but are you really going to be sleeping better at night? If something happens, am I actually covered?
And are you really covered?
Exactly. Right? Versus having that relationship with somebody who wants to learn about you and your business so that it can make sure, oh, hey, now that you've brought that up, we should probably think about this in your insurance policy. Is this something that you're worried about or something you could face and could be a problem for you down the line? If so, let's look at, adding this so that when you do go to bed at night, it's like, okay, if something happens, I'm covered, right? So it's the combination of those two things that I think really go hand in hand when it comes to the insurance side of owning a business.
Yeah, completely agree. And my only tip to that, even though it's something that none of us want to buy, delve into it.
Yep.
Right. Have your whoever is providing and is your agent and source of insurance. I asked a lot of questions
as you should
to understand and exactly what this nomenclature means and how am I protected and what if this happens or what if that happens, right?
Right.
What about my tools? Is that covered, right? So some of it is, but it was better to get a separate small policy to cover my drone, my thermal cameras, the things that cost a bit of money to replace. Should it be stolen or I get in a wreck and somehow it's all lost within the vehicle while I'm going back and forth. And then really depending, it's in that case for what I do, there was a lot of questions even on the personal side. I mean, even though I'm using my truck for work, right? Sure. Do I need to insure that as a work truck, even though it's really a personal truck that I just deduct all my travel miles for work on?
Right.
Am I protected underneath my home policy, right? The general auto policy. So I think that someone who has your best interest at heart, like I try to do my business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, they will be looking at those things, right? And they
Exactly.
will ask you, they should ask you, they should be able to say, you should get questions that ask what are the tools that you use and how much are they worth and do you want it and all of that stuff, and to be able to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
It's part of the education process of having your own business.
Sure. No, it's something you should be versed in, and find somebody that's willing to spend that time with you,
Absolutely.
to talk about it with you. Again, I mean, you put so much time and energy and effort into starting a business, owning a business, operating a business, that the idea of, something, God forbid, something bad happening, would that cause so much damage and monetary damage to the point where, you either set back months, or, you just take just a gigantic
Exactly.
hit, and maybe you can't even operate your business anymore,
Well,
because
yeah.
of something. And that's not a worry that any business owner should really have,
Just another point to all that, though, is also in the back of my mind is I want to protect my family,
Exactly. Yep.
right? It's not just me, my business. I want to protect my family from whatever may happen. That
Hmm.
they're not going to be um, dragged into a lawsuit or what have you, or the fact that a lien might be put on my house or our house that now is affecting my wife and my family, right?
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
think it's part of the responsibility that we have.
exactly. No, that's great points, man. And hopefully everybody out there who's listening to this, takes that kind of, bullet point away as well. And think about, when it comes to my business's insurance, do I feel that level of comfort? And if not, who can I reach out to? And so,
Right.
John, before I hand it over to you for, last closing thoughts, or, if you want to tell people how to find you or reach out to you, again, this podcast is brought to you by Centennial State Insurance Agency. And I'll tell you what, everything John is saying is exactly how we feel when it comes to all kind of insurance, business, commercial insurance, individual, personal lines. We care more about, you than just getting your money. We don't want somebody who is, or, we're not the type of people that are going to just say, here's the lowest price, we'll take your money and forget about you. We
Yep.
take these things
Exactly.
into account. And you know, we're the type of people that I can really confidently say, for everybody in the organization who wants to go that extra mile for you. And yeah, it's probably not going to be the cheapest, but it's going to be the one that if something happens, you're going to say, okay, I know I'm covered. I know who do I reach out to, or just as I'm operating day to day, going to sleep at night. Okay, I know I'm comfortable. I'm covered. These things are going to be taken care of. Right. So,
Absolutely.
but with that, John, yeah. Any closing thoughts, man?
No, but this is fun.
Yeah, good.
Thanks for having me on. And yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know if the cat out of the bag, if you will. I mean, it's Centennial State has been my go-to for insurance for a number of years, and they were the first I thought of course, when I opened my business, because I had a relationship with them for a long time.
Right.
And they were very patient and helpful in answering all my questions and finding the insurance that was the balance, right? And that balance
Exactly.
is what's the cost versus am I covered the way I should be? And I don't know if I'm on the screen, but of those two, your concern should be the coverage first. This is the coverage I want. Can you find what's the pricing on the other side, right?
Exactly.
You don't start the scale on the pricing side.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to even like what I do, right? I'm not the cheapest. I'm not the most expensive. Hopefully, I give a good value for what I hope is a high touch and a very comprehensive inspection. And it's the same thing with Centennial State. So
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, thanks, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, let people know how they can find you, contact information, anything like that, man.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, they can find me at ironhorsehomeinspection.com. And you can even just shoot me a quick text if you want at 303-229-8280. Everyone else in the world calls me, so you can too if you're in need of a home inspection, or if you just have a question, right?
Sure.
So yeah,
Sounds great.
This has been fun.
Good. Well, honestly, it's been great having you on. It's really cool to just hear these stories of people that have built these businesses and kind of everything that they've learned and kind of what sets them apart, everything we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Every business is unique. Every business has a different story. And that's exactly what we're trying to showcase here. So yeah, John, again, thank you very much for joining me tonight. And for everybody else out there, just keep tuning in for more stories. And thank you for watching. And if you have any ideas for somebody who would want to be on the show, maybe it's you yourself, you would like to hop on and talk to me about your business, let me know on our Facebook page or email or anything like that. And we'd be more than happy to set something up with you and give you a chance to share your story. So with that, we'll go ahead and sign off for today, and just check us out on the next episode of Behind the Small Business, brought to you by Centennial State Insurance Agency. Have a good night, everybody.